Good hello friends, my name is Melanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be taking you through my classics TBR. I have read a fair amount of classics throughout my time in college and in high school. However, there are still so many that I haven't read and so many that surprisingly are still on my TBR despite them either being on my shelves or being on my radar for years. This video idea actually came from Connor, and I have to say a huge thank you to him because this is actually one way of kind of establishing what some priority reads are for me, as well as holding myself accountable and reaching back to this at the end of the year to see if I actually managed to get through a goal of reading more classics, but more specifically the classics that I am trying to prioritize. The first set of books essentially that I want to mention are the books for the Down Memory Jane read along. This is a Jane Austen themed read along where every other month they read a Jane Austen book and then every other month they read a retelling. So in January, March, May, July, etc. there are different Jane Austen novels, and so I will be participating in this readathon as we go on. Go ahead and check them out in the description bar below. They have all of the information in all their announcement videos, and I'm super excited to participate. However, the two that I am most excited to read are Sense and Sensibility and Persuasion. I've already read Pride and Prejudice a couple years back, and I also already read Emma, so it'll be really great to reread those, but for some reason, the other two are ones that I haven't gotten to yet, and that's okay because I'm gonna do it this year. While we're on the subject of women writers, let's talk about the Bronte sisters. So I've selected one book from each sister, and I'm hoping to get to all of them this year. However, they're not necessarily priority books, but they're books that I feel like I should have read already. First being Wuthering Heights, the second being Villette, and the third being Agnes Grey. These are books that, generally speaking, I know I should have gotten to them in high school, and Wuthering Heights was a book I was actually told to avoid, but since coming onto BookTube, a lot of people actually really enjoy it. So I've heard mixed reviews, but I'm going to give them a try anyway. I definitely do want to get to Wuthering Heights out of the three though. Now finally diving into the general classics TBR, I have a list of 14 on here. However, I'm only going to give you my top 5 books because that is kind of what I want to keep myself accountable for. If I can get to the other ones, then awesome, but these are essentially my top 5 out of this general list that I haven't already mentioned. So to kind of kick things off, I'm going to rank my top 5, and we're going to start with number 5, which is Farenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Again, I feel like with classics, I really don't have to give the synopsis, but at the same time, I don't really know what the synopsis of some of these books are. I know that Farenheit 451 is a dystopian, and it's kind of aligned with Orwell's 1984, which I love, and I'm planning on rereading at some point this year. That is high priority. Farenheit 451 is one of those books, when I read the description, it's literally just like the classic dystopian that everyone is kind of feeling at the moment, and I feel like dystopians are one of my favorite genres to read from, so I think I will absolutely fly through this, and I actually really do want to watch the show with Michael B. Jordan, so hopefully I can get around to that this year. However, again, it is a priority. At number 4 is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and again, we have another dystopian novel, one that's really dark. There are so many retellings that I've heard of, and so many books inspired by Brave New World that I have really wanted to kind of dive into this novel head first. However, I do need to do a ton of research in order to kind of fully enrich myself in the reading experience, and I feel like this is one that I'm going to have the most fun with in terms of kind of creating the academic setting that I'm kind of hoping for. At number 3 is a book on January's TBR actually, and it is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a book that has been recommended to me over and over again as a classic that I definitely need to read, as if the rest of these aren't. However, this one is very different from the other two that I've listed in the sense that it's more philosophical than it is dystopian, and I think the dystopian novels in their own right do have an element of philosophy in them. However, this one is so much more than that, considering the fact that we're talking about eternal youth and painting life into eyes and how that works out. Like, I think it's going to be a really cool novel, and I'm really hoping that I can get to it this month. I am reading it as part of the New Year's Readathon, which is hosted by Noelle and a bunch of other friends. I'll go ahead and link them down below. Hopefully there's still time to participate in this. I'm kind of loosely participating as a way to just kind of organize my reads for the month, and if I'm gonna be honest, I'm not doing great with my bingo board, but it's fine. But The Picture of Dorian Gray is number 3. It's up there, but it's not something I'm like itching to pick up. At the number 2 spot is a novel that is dubbed as one of the greatest works of literature ever, and that's Anna Karenina by Leah Tolstoy. This is one that I've had my eye on for quite some time, and quite frankly, the fact that there is a retelling literally called Anna K, and Tolstoy himself called it a true novel, his first true novel, it just blows my mind away as to how acclaimed this novel is and how intense it has the ability to be, and I haven't picked it up yet. I also know that this is a chunky book and I am very much so prepared for it, but that's okay. I'm really excited to kind of dive into Russian authors, Russian folklores, and Russian tales in general, so I think this is a great place to kind of start with Tolstoy being a cult classic. And finally, at number 1 on this list is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book is mostly on my TBR because it is considered one of the first sci-fi novels ever. Mary Shelley really changed the scope of literature when she wrote this, and I think historically to be Mary Shelley and do this is really freaking cool. I love the sci-fi genre, and I think it would be a disservice for me to not give an ode to the classics by ranking Frankenstein number 1. And I also think it's a very interesting story in the sense that everybody thinks that Frankenstein is the monster, but he's not. There's just so much depth in this, and I'm really pumped to read it, so that is why it stands at number 1. Aside from the books that I have listed on my top 5, I do want to kind of read off the other books that I have written down. These books include Catcher in the Rye, Crime and Punishment, Little Women, Mary Barton, Mrs. Dalloway, War and Peace, To the Lighthouse, Great Expectations, and In Cold Blood. So that is it for my classics TBR. I am really pumped to kind of get to these and make classics more of a priority on my TBR and in my reads in 2021. Considering the fact that I have officially taken my last English course ever, I need to kind of hold on to that and make sure that I continue to consume these classics and continue to consume these novels that have inspired so many more after them. Like I said, I think I would be doing myself... The sprinklers are on. We're gonna ignore that. Like I said, I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't read these novels and consider myself not only a booktuber, but somebody who enjoys reading as a whole. I don't think you need to read classics in order to be considered a reader or a sophisticated reader or anything like that, but I think there is so much value in these classics and kind of giving them that love and attention that they need, because so many novels have been based off of them, or so many novels have evolved because of these classics, and that's really kind of where I stand, especially with Frankenstein being one of the first sci-fi novels ever. It's kind of huge, and I want to give it that level of respect. So that is it for my classics TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Go check out all the creators and all the readathons that are happening in the description bar below, and until then, I'll catch you soon.